everyone, this is Zach Beach with SmartRealEstateCoach.com. Welcome to another Deal Structure Sunday. We have Denise here. Denise, we actually have a very long-standing relationship. She's actually seen all sides of the coin here. So Denise, let's dive into your story, kind of how you met the team, where the process that you went through. What you end up doing. I know you went through a 90-day jump start as well. And then let's dive into one of your deals. So go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of give us some background.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Denise. I have kind of a long relationship with the Prefontaine family. My husband and I had a townhouse in the city in Boston that we couldn't sell. We couldn't unload for a lot of reasons. And we had two infant twins and we needed more space and we wanted to move out of the city. So we rented our townhouse and moved out of the city, and we're looking for a place to rent, but then potentially purchase it once we sold our townhouse. We didn't find that, so we moved into a rental and we kept our eyes open. We saw a house about a year later that was rent to own, hence where I ran into you guys. And the whole scenario seemed perfect for us. We actually were able to set up both scenarios. So the house that we eventually ended up lease purchasing was set up to close around the same time as my condo in the city was set up to close. We also lease purchased that out through you guys. So I saw both sides of the coin. I sold a property through you guys, and I purchased a property through you guys. And I remember talking to my husband saying, "This is such a cool concept. I don't understand why more people aren't doing it. I'd never heard of it, and it gives so much opportunity to people that wouldn't otherwise have that opportunity, at least at the time that they're trying to do it." And I remember saying to him, "I would love to get into this, but it's just him." I think at the time it was just him and Nick. Yeah, it was just. I think Nick had just barely started, and I said I would love to, but it's just their family. What am I going to knock on the door and be like, "I'd love to work with you guys. I don't know anything about real estate, but I'd love to do this." So that was it. We moved into our new place, and a couple years later, I started seeing advertising of Chris's training, coaching. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. And of course, I still had his contact. So I texted him and I said, "Do you think this is something that I could do?" And he turned the question back around to me and said, "Well, are you teachable?" And I said, "I think so. I'm a decent teacher in what I do. So I think I'm teachable." And he said, then he said, "Then you can do this." I said, "Okay, I'm going to give it a shot." So that's when I started with the QLS. Mark, when I both dove into it, I dove into it first, because Mark is a little more skeptical than I am.
That's very true. I can see that.
Yeah. And the rest is history. The rest is, we did the QLS really intently. This was the first QLS. And we took our first home. I mean, I can't believe we did it, but we did. We did it. We got a great deal. We sold it really easily. I mean, we were inundated with calls, and it took, kind of caught me off guard a little bit, but we managed to do it. It was around the holidays, which I thought would be a slow time, but we sold it right at the very beginning of January. We closed on it. And then we kind of took a break after that, just because we got caught up in our own things. And in the fall, we said, you know what, we really want to get back at this hard. And that's when we did the 90-day jump start with you guys.
Awesome. So let me just recap this for everyone. So it's a lot of information, but it's really cool to see someone kind of go through the entire process. So number one, we actually bought your property, rent to own, and we're able to sell it for you guys.
Yep.
I believe it was an AO, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, we did an AO on the house. Perfect. And then you guys bought a house from us, rent to own. So we were able to fulfill that. You get both sides of the coin there. Yep. And you're like, hey, this is actually pretty cool. We should see if we can potentially do this as well and create a business.
Okay.
because you're also a full-time, don't you own a hairdressing salon?
I don't own, I work, but yeah, I'm behind the chair 3 long days a week. Yeah.
Okay, so that just shows
The
now.
older I get, the longer they get.
That's a typical associate too, or a typical person that joins our program is someone who's looking to create a side income to eventually, surpass their own. So now you get a hardworking hairdresser that's doing deals on the side. So you're like, hey, let's start doing this. You take a break, you do your first deal, of course, do your first deal. It's way too good to be true. Then you take a break, and then you dive into the 90-day jump start, where this is where we're going to touch upon the next deal, where we're actually going to do the deal structure Sunday on this deal. I remember I was coaching you guys in the 90-day jump start. I know last event when you were there and you stood up and you told us about that original first deal, I think Chris was like, you actually left a ton of money on the table, Denise. So
I know. He's always talking my hand.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we've told Denise this a million times. If she was in the associate program where we're doing deals with her and we were actually calling on sellers, we could increase this profit, but it's not for everyone all the time. So we're able to do this next deal during the 90-day jumpstart. So I think we'll be able to eke out some more profit from this by just having our additional conversation. So, all right, let's start with this deal. So tell us the source and the motivation. Let's start there.
Okay, well, the source was My Plus Leads expired. And this was back in right after we sold our first house, early 18, that we first got in touch with this guy. He was actually a realtor, but he wasn't great at it and didn't love it. And so he was changing careers. He was going back into computers, which meant he was moving back up to the North Shore. And this obviously was a South Shore house. So he had advertised he'd be willing to rent it, and that obviously made us interested in the property. So we contacted him, met with him, saw the house. It was great, beautiful property. Norwell's a beautiful community with great school system. So we thought this is going to be simple. The only caveat was that he was only giving us like 45, 50 days, because if it didn't sell, he was going to put it back on the conventional market. And we had a lot of interest in it, a lot. And we came so close to selling it. But I think part of it was we were a little gun shy. We weren't confident enough to really pull the trigger. And we ended up losing it. So it went beyond the time frame and we lost it. He put it back on the market. At that point, he was selling it for, he had dropped it to 579,000, I think it was. I think 500. No, he was originally 559.
Okay.
Then and we were going to sell it for 599. So we lost it, and we spent a lot of time away in the summer. So as I said, we didn't really do much for a few months. And when we came back and we did the 90-day jump start, we got all pumped up, and came back home from the event, and we were making calls left and right and really being much more aggressive and proactive with it. Marco noticed that it was still in the market, and they dropped it to 520,000. And they just taken it off the market. So, no, it was still on the market actually. So we contacted him. We said, why not? Let's try. And we had a good rapport. So we contacted him, and he said, sure. So the first 20 days, he still had it on the market, which was a little bit weird, but we just went with it. We knew him already. And then he took it off completely.
Okay, so now before we dive into the next section, let's just so I say this all the time, is if you're not getting a good deal up front, meaning, so you talked to him a while back and he was selling it for like 30 or 40 grand more than you got it for now. So if you can wait these sellers out and you don't take the deal right away, even though, of course, you had the deal, but then you ended up falling through, but everything else happens for reasons. So now you're getting a heck of a lot more profit. Another thing I wanted to mention here is this is a realtor seller. Everyone's like, it's a realtor owner. Like, they're not going to sell you their property on terms. No, absolute lie. So that's
when I make my calls, are some of the most open people I speak to. Not all of them, obviously, but
Yeah.
because they understand numbers and business. So
100%. So that's so phenomenal. So by you actually not able to pull the trigger because you're a little gun shy, you said you actually got like a 30 grand bump in profits by waiting 6 months. So huge. Okay, so let's hit the 3 paydays now.
yep. So we ended up, instead of buying it for $559, we bought it for $520. We sold it for $570. We were gonna sell it for $560, and that was when you said, "Well, it's Norwell. Why won't you sell it for $570? It's a great house." So we put it up for $570, and it sold.
If you can get 560, you can get 570. So
Yep.
go ahead.
So we got 22,000 down. This was in December, this past December. And then we're getting another 13,000 in April of 19, and then another 5,000 in February of 20.
Okay, so you bought it for 520 for how many years? What's the term?
For 30 months plus 6-month extension.
Okay, so let's say 36 months, so 3 years.
Yep.
And then, so now you're talking about your payday number 1.
Payday
So your non-refundable deposit that you got was 22,000 up front,
Yep.
13,000 due, and another 5,000 due after that.
Yep.
Bring it to a total of, what do we got? 30,000.
20, 30,
35. 35. How am I doing?
38. No.
38.
22, 32, 33, 34, 35, 40.
There you go. 2, 5. All right. 40,000. Wow. How are we doing today? Okay. Payday number 1. 40,000.
Spread. Spread is the mortgage is pretty high, actually. His taxes went up significantly since the last time I talked to him, so the spread's pretty small. But it was still worth it with the principal pay down. So it was $177 a month that we have for spread. So at 36 months, that's $6,372.
So 6,000 total spread over 30 if it goes 36 months.
If it goes 36.
Okay, so pay number 2.
It's like 43.
Okay, pay number 2 is 6,000. So pay number 3.
And payday number 3, principal pay down is $628 a month. So if it goes 36 months, it's $22,631 and change.
Okay. So, and that was including the additional premium that you have on top of the sale?
No, then there's let's see, we got 40 up front, so there should be another 10 coming at the end.
So you got 32,000 pay number 3.
Yeah.
So you got 40,000 number 1, 6,000 number 2, 32,000 number 3.
Yeah.
Correct? Bringing us a total of what? I'm not adding that up. I
already added it up.
Okay, perfect.
It's essentially 82,000.
82,000.
If it goes 36 months.
Okay. Potential $82,000 deal that you're able to accomplish during the 90-day jumpstart, which is phenomenal. Because I'm sure people are thinking
just off the bat with you saying, why don't you use 570? That added a whole 10 grand right on there.
That one nugget. So we get a couple cool things. So number 1, because you waited 6 months and you weren't able to make that deal happen, which was probably a downer for you at the time.
It totally was.
By having that being a learning lesson, saying, okay, next time we get a property, we're going to pull the trigger. You gain 30,000.
Yep.
By you coming to me during one of our calls, our 30-minute calls, and saying, all right, I plan on selling it for this. And I say, well, why don't you just add $10,000 to that? Because if it's going to appraise for 560 in the future, it's going to probably appraise for 570, especially in that area.
Yeah,
okay, so you might as well go ahead and add 10 grand. So that's $40,000. So actually, you doubled your profit by waiting 6 months, and by joining 90-day Jumpstart, you doubled your profit from originally a $40,000 deal to an $82,000 deal.
Yep.
That's absolutely phenomenal. I love seeing these stories.
Yeah,
That's
no,
amazing.
it was a good one. And everyone, we love our buyer. The buyer's great. We have, a lot of trust in him, and the seller's been great. They're just easy people to work with. So it's been a great experience.
We're super happy for you, Denise. And thanks for joining us on a Deal Structure Sunday. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we sign off and send everyone off on this beautiful Sunday?
Well, I think the biggest thing, I mean, I knew not, the only thing I knew about real estate is that I'd rented a townhouse out that I didn't want to live in anymore because it was in the city. So I really was insecure about being able to do this and learn enough to do this. But it if you just like Chris said, if you are teachable, and I think in probably a lot of cases it's putting your predisposed notions aside. In my case, it wasn't so much that because I didn't have any predisposed notions. I didn't have any notions at all. But I think maybe a lot of people that are thinking about doing this have dabbled in it in other areas, wholesaling, that sort of thing. If you can put those aside and kind of open yourself up to this way of doing deals, it's a no-brainer. It really is. Sometimes I get frustrated with sellers because it's such a no-brainer. It doesn't make any sense. One seller I'm still talking to in Ashburnham, I said the worst case scenario is you get the house back with owing 20,000 less and having 10,000 more in your pocket. Like, why would you not do that? It doesn't make any sense.
I'm with you.
But so anyway, I highly recommend it. You guys are awesome. I love the whole family. And if you can handle straight shooters, then they'd love to work with you guys.
Well, thanks again. So Denise's signing off words are, it's an absolute no-brainer. Go ahead. Go ahead and start talking with sellers. Go ahead, join our program. Look for the free book. We give out so much free information. Enjoy this another Deal Structure Sunday. Go buy the Seller Specialist program, which we have available on the website as well. Denise is taking advantage of every single resource that we have. You guys should as well. And if you just are looking to get started, go ahead and go to our webinar, smartrealestatecoach.com/webinar. And that way you can start buying and selling properties like Denise does. Everybody have a great Sunday.